Welcome back to this week's edition of Smart Counsel for Lunch. Today we're continuing with our Smart Counsel interviews, which happen every quarter on a quarterly basis. I'm Leah Kofos with the law firm of Samuel Seward and Baylor in Dedham, Massachusetts, where we focus our practice in the areas of estate planning, elder law, probate, and estate and trust administration. Today, I'm joined by Janet Seckel-Cerrotti, who is the founder and executive director of FriendshipWorks, which is a wonderful organization that's aimed at bringing joy and companionship into the lives of older adults in the greater Boston area. Thank you, Janet, for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here and to meet you.
So I have a couple questions for you today. First one is just tell me a little bit about the vision and the mission behind FriendshipWorks.
Okay, well, FriendshipWorks was started in 1984, so now 41 years ago, and its enduring vision is to end elder isolation and create connection. And our mission here in the greater Boston area is to reduce social isolation, improve quality of life, and maintain the dignity of older adults in the greater Boston area. And it really the vision really is about making sure nobody is alone who chooses not to be, that everybody deserves a friend, needs a connection and support. And as we get older, it becomes much more difficult as you have losses, as there might be, people may have sensory loss as well as, losses of people in your life or ability to get around as much. Most of us, as we get older, are not, employed, or many aren't. And so to meet new people and to create new community is very difficult. And for us, we're most concerned about people who may be living alone or living with others, but don't have a strong social network. And to create that, and we create that both intergenerationally, interfaith, interracial, to get people to we're matchmakers to get people to have really take great care in making matches. But I'll get into the programs in a little while. But really about the vision is that we need each other. And as we get older, there's a lot of wisdom, and that there is also a lot of meaning that people through, and the ability to listen in a way that maybe you weren't when you were really busy, and that is lost to the younger generations when we don't take care or even know that an older adult is living next door to us or in the community, and they're hidden behind their windows in their homes and can't get out. So the idea is really to enrich both the life of the older adult, but also of the community by engaging with older persons and to making life more valuable.
That's wonderful. Yeah. And you touched on this a little bit, but I understand that there are 5 core programs that the organization offers. Can you tell me a little bit more about those?
As you mentioned, we have 5 core programs, and there's great intentionality in those programs and how they mix with one another. But our 2 very core programs, and the ones that have been going on consistently since we began in 1984, is our Friendly Visiting Program. The volunteer can be anyone from 18 to 100 who volunteers and is matched with someone for visitation on a weekly basis. We try and match people where they live or work or worship, so that it's not too far to go there in the middle of the Boston winter, and to really create a new relationship in life, one that is helpful. And as we know, friendship, it's both about talking and knowing someone's there who cares about you, but it's also helping to do things that friends do in your life. So there's a support component to that at times with that. Our medical escort is different. It's really about making sure people get to their medical appointments. Many people will not go at all if they don't know they have someone to go with them, or they can't go. And so to have that person who's your friend, somebody, or like your family member who goes with you, make sure that you're safe, staying with you, at the appointment, getting you home safely, and also creates much less stress, so you can really listen to what your healthcare provider is telling you rather than being stressed out by the time you get there. So it's a really important program. Our other programs are based on that. One is Friendly Helping, which is also direct service where we use volunteers. And it is those things of daily life that many of us who are able-bodied take for granted, whether it is getting down on the floor and organizing your closet. But if you're 85 years old and you no longer can get down on the floor the way you did. Somebody else can come over for a 1 or 2 or 3 time task to help you decide what to throw out, put things where you can reach them somewhere, and to also give away what you want. It can also be going to the cemetery on the anniversary of a loved one's death. There can be raking your yard. So there are things that are need to be done or create a quality of life. Somebody who may not understand a form to come over and help you fill out that form, or to help you with your computer when it's, broken down or you don't know how to fix it, somebody can come over. The fourth and fifth program are about bringing joy and connection. Our pet visitation program called PetPals is about bringing humans with their pets. Most are dogs, but we have cats. We've had a bird. We've had a guinea pig who go every month to an assisted living or a nursing home. It is our outreach to older adults who are living in long-term care, and bringing that same the animal bringing their human with them to go visit weekly. And it can either be room to room or in a group. And people, the joy, the unconditional love that a pet brings, there's a lot that's been written about that. And also then people who live together in some kind of collective community start talking to each other about their pets or about their missing, and people who don't talk a lot. It brings out that openness and also the warmth of both touch and memory and love that comes with it. And our MusicWorks program is the newest program, although it's almost 10 years old now. And that's about bringing the joy of music to people. I love it. It's like you go and you feel so much better no matter what mood you're in when you leave. But again, it's about creating connection between people. Music itself is very visceral, as we all know. So it gets you in touch with yourself, but also when you're singing with other people, when you're playing drums, when you're dancing Zumba with it, which we sometimes do. Sometimes we do music bingo. And so you're living in a building, but you don't really know people in that building. And many buildings are constructed. You don't really get to know each other. But if you start doing music with somebody, all of a sudden you become more friendly, and all of a sudden that person may become that friend. So it's not just for that hour or two of the music itself and the joy that brings, but it's also about creating connection with other people. So everything that we do is about creating connection in the way we do it. So music in of itself, for instance, passive music, it's wonderful. We all love listening to it, or many of us do, but we bring it in order to make sure that it creates connection with other folks.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful, because community is often lacking in, you know, places that you think might have the community. There are a lot of people living together, but often, there's a lot of isolation there too.
I've talked to people, not just older people actually, but I've had somebody in my staff. She said, I've been in the same apartment building for 10 years in Boston, and I don't know one of the other people in the apartment building. We see each other pass in the night, and they never connect with one another. Well, if you have a full life, that might be okay with you. But if you're home a lot, that's really not okay to be 24/7 on your own. I'll say the Friendly Visiting Program is our biggest one-on-one program. So we have several programs that are really one-on-one and volunteer visiting one-on-one, and the pet visitation can be both one-on-one or in a group.
Yeah. Okay. That's fantastic. Yeah. Very good information there. What inspired you to start the organization, and what was the kind of the process of starting it?
Well, actually, I had been working at an organization that no longer exists called Boston Aging Concerns Young and Old United, and they had a small visiting program. And we actually had the opportunity to apply for a grant by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation that had the vision at a time to fund 25 interfaith volunteer caregiver programs throughout the United States. And you'd say, well, why interfaith? It wasn't a religious aspect. It was about making sure that whatever was started would be inclusive. And there were programs started in rural, urban, and suburban areas, 25 of them throughout the country. About 10 or 11 of them still exist. And then you're really on your own to make it work in your community once the grant was given, which we did. And we became our own agency a few years later. Really, I was inspired because I've always loved older adults. I feel like as a child, they listen to you in a certain way. They look at you. They were interesting, and I always really liked that. I really wanted to bring people, and I also felt that it was kind of criminal, or we were really missing out by not not having older adults in our lives. And I think people gain so much from that. And then it's also really unfair to an older adult to all of a sudden, when you've given so much and you may have more knowledge to share, not to have the opportunity to share that with others and to share your life or to listen and help somebody else grow up. That was part of it. This was through civic engagement. It's about us being human with one another, not necessarily being paid, but it's about building relationship and not staying in your own corner. So those are the things really. So I've been very lucky because all of those things were the principles with which FriendshipWorks started. Originally, we were named Match Up Interfaith Volunteers. And after 25 years, we changed our name, and I'll tell you one little funny story. One of the major reasons we changed it, people love the name Matchup because that is what we did. We were matching folks up with one another, but Match.com came into the universe, and people started thinking we were a dating service, and that just didn't work. And, interfaith, the idea of faith became politicized. So our name wasn't working for us. So it took us a while, and we found FriendshipWorks because it's one word, but it's both a play on words. It's FriendshipWorks because friendship works. And we all know that.
I love that. That's fantastic. Hilarious about Match.com. I
Yeah.
mean, it makes sense because when was the organization founded?
In 1984.
Yeah, so you've been
Yeah.
in business for a long time, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
words change meaning over time, and it's really, really interesting. And, even today we see people, they don't like the word elder or elderly, or they want to say older adults. So how we feel about words changes, even though many of us still want to be an elder because it feels
Respect
esteemed.
your
But not
elders.
everybody who's older is necessarily an elder. But there's a little pushback on certain words, feeling that it doesn't speak well to
Yeah,
that population.
that's very interesting. So I hear you're retiring in April. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What will you miss most about working with the organization?
That people and knowing that every day that we together are making a difference in people's lives. So no matter even the stress or anything, that you hear so many wonderful stories where, mostly from the older adults, but volunteers also, where this has changed their life or added to it or enriched it in some ways. And so knowing every day that whatever piece of the work I'm doing, um, I always live vicariously from the program staff who actually are on the ground doing this, which I used to do when I started. Um, I think I'll miss knowing that every day that there is that reason for going into work. And also just our staff is fabulous. They're fun to be with. We eat lunch together. They're caring. And of course, the older adults that I meet, which now that I am becoming one of them, I'm sure I will meet many others, and volunteers. So I just think the whole piece, I like people and I love the idea of connecting people with one another. So I'll miss that camaraderie.
Are you able to share any standout stories or memories from your time with FriendshipWorks?
I have quite a number of them. I will uh, say that one of the first matches I made early on, and I used to be like the matchmaker, like now other people are friendly visiting, was of a young woman or a professional woman who was 38 when she volunteered, and she belonged to, and she was matched with a 88-year-old woman. I think, no, actually, I think she was 33. She was matched with, so Helen and Linda. And Helen lived to 103. So whatever, I think they were matched for 15 or 18 years. And of course, so here the volunteer started when she was in her 30s and Helen died when she was in her 50s. So that's a span of time. And they just connected so completely. And it really changed the volunteer's life in terms of what the trajectory of her career was. But also for Helen, she was just that constant, every week coming in. And she lived independently when they started at 88 and about 10 years into their match. So in her late 90s, she needed to move into an assisted living in a nursing home. And her match, Linda, helped her to do that, helped her to pack up and do all the logistics because, she was at that point, alone. She helped her move in. And then when Helen died at 103. Linda, who was the volunteer, knew that she wanted to be buried in her family cemetery in New York State. So she drove with a friend of hers with the ashes of Helen to the cemetery in New York to make sure that she had a dignified death as well as life. And to me, that's a friend. That's something. And you think about what Helen's life would have been without Linda and how she would have struggled during those years. And instead, both of their lives were really enriched and changed by that relationship. I think about and she was completely Helen was completely fine. It's just that she had issues with her legs, I mean, she's completely cognitive, she was, completely capable. But then we had somebody, for instance, there was a gentleman who both was deaf and uh, very low vision. And his volunteer, David, most people didn't have patience for him because it was hard. You had to yell to have him hear, you had to show him. It takes a lot of patience for any of us to be with somebody who both has hearing and vision impairments, especially severe ones. But David was amazing. He would take him to his doctors. He was a medical escort, but also became a friend and visited him for years. And when the gentleman needed to move also to more long-term care. And the nurses, even the nurses, who I adore nurses and I think they're the best profession in the world, but they really struggled, with him because he would get moody and everything. And David was the one who could be that interpreter, who could calm him, and who was just there for him always. And even when he moved pretty far, David would go and visit with him and then had him move closer back to Boston so he could visit with him more often. Those are the kinds of things you do for family. And so I'm always astounded what volunteers will do. I also don't want to scare anyone away if you're thinking about volunteering that you have to give that kind of deep commitment. It's wonderful when it happens. But some people, their match lasts for a year or two. They become friends. They visit every week. It's really, they might, play Scrabble together. They might just talk about the news. They may just hang out and take a walk together. Some people want to match just to feel the safety of going outside with somebody by their side. There's so many different requests, that happen and matches that made. We had one pet pal volunteer, also one match, which was pretty astounding to me. And there was a woman who was in a nursing home, and we had a cat visit there. And the older woman was quite late in her life, and she was not doing very well. And you knock on her door, and she goes, "I don't want anybody to visit. I don't want to see anybody." And then we would tell her, I forget the name of the cat now, but that the cat was coming, and the woman was blind, and this cat was also blind. And she knew that, and she said, "Let her in." And the cat came and just, sat on the bed with her, and the two of them communed and just brought a smile and a gentleness to this older woman's life and time, and a calmness that was there, and something inexplicable you just don't understand, but that it happens. And we have had people who have been really felt that that animal is really what gave them that sense of peace, where sometimes other humans can't do that for each other. So that's also one of the others, but I have
Yeah,
many
that's
others, but I'll
amazing.
stop there.
I I imagine it has to be pretty difficult to volunteer or to be a part of a program like this and not have a deep bond with the person that you're working with, the person that you're helping or who's helping you, right? Because
Right.
you're spending these really meaningful times together. So yeah, that's huge. I mean, both people get a benefit out of it, you know?
Oh yeah, we've had younger, particularly people in their 20s and 30s and early 40s who have loved it. Like they've learned, like the older, adult, who they matched with has become kind of a mentor to them, and also listens to them in a way that, in your busy world, your friends or family might not listen to you. So the next time you come, they'll ask you about it, or they might teach you about recipes, or if they've traveled, to faraway places or been in worn-torn places. It kind of brings it's different when you read something than if you meet somebody and they've gone through something and you hear it, and it becomes more part of you than just reading it when you know it from the person. So there's a lot of richness that younger adults, midlife adults find in being matched with somebody. And again, we take great care in making matches. Like we'll look at what are your interests? Where do you live? What time of day? What's your personality? And we really try and take a great care in making a match. And most of the time it works really, really well. And if not, we tell people to give it a little chance. And if not, we will rematch you. We feel like there's somebody for everybody. And some people love a challenge, in terms of personalities, and somebody, kind of wants somebody of their same, a man might want another man, but, or somebody else doesn't care. And, we take into account all sorts of things to be able to. And sometimes the volunteer's older than the person that they're visiting. We have somebody who's 80 who's visiting somebody in her 60s. The person is 60s because of life, and Jean's is not, it's had a lot of life's been tough for her. And so the matches the volunteers are older than the person who she's visiting.
Yeah, interesting. And kind of touching on that as well, if anyone is out there listening and wants to be involved, wants to either become a participant or a volunteer in the program, how should they get started? What are the steps for them to take?
Well, we have a website. I think it's pretty good, or it'll tell you a lot. www.fw4elders.org. Or you can look at FriendshipWorks, all one word. Make sure it's Boston. There's, I think, one other FriendshipWorks out there, but you'll find us. And maybe, you can share that, with, other folks. Our website, you can think about how you want to be involved. There's a volunteer form. If you want to refer somebody, also, somebody who would really benefit from our services, we serve all of Boston, wherever the mayor's the mayor, all of Brookline, Newton, Cambridge, and Somerville. And we've also been a mentor to other places throughout the country who are trying to do something somewhat similar, but not, even if one of our programs. And you can fill out the volunteer form. If you have any difficulty doing that, you can just call the phone number and leave a message and somebody will get back to you. But if you fill out the form as a volunteer, then whoever's in your area, they'll look where you live, and that coordinator will give you a call and talk with you and talk to you on the phone, either on Zoom or have, meet with you in person and find out what you're looking for, what the parameters of your life are. And we'll try and make a match or figure out if you'd rather do medical escort or a friendly visit or friendly helping. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule. I know you only have a month or so left at FriendshipWorks. So thank you for joining me today and telling me everything, sharing with me everything about FriendshipWorks. So I appreciate it very much.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a true pleasure.
And for all of our viewers out there, if you have any questions, feel free. You can always reach out to us and we can connect you with Janet and her program. Again, you can always go to the website. And again, that's FW, the number 4elders.org, and learn some more about it. All right.
Can I tell you one thing?
Sure.
We are on May 18th every year. This will be our 10th. We have an annual walk to end elder isolation and elderbration. And so you're welcome to join us. It's a very intergenerational opportunity. We walk around the Jamaica Pond. It's a fundraiser for FriendshipWorks also, if you'd like to support it. But please look it up, and it's coming up in May, the week after Mother's Day.
That's wonderful. That's a great opportunity. All right. So all of you out there, until next time, take care.